Boo! Welcome to day 3 of the devlog for my 1 week coding challenge, and I won't waste any more of your precious time, so let's get straight into what is new. So initially, when we actually boot up the game, you'll see that nothing has visually changed. Everything, for the most part, is the same. No new upgrades have been added, no new text, no background is new, everything looks about the same. However, when we actually boot up the game, you'll see, again, it's all the same. But if we increase our score, you'll see these buttons over here showing up. All these buttons are upgrades. Upgrades that boost the strength and power of all of your idle upgrades. And then with the 2 other unique upgrades, the ones that improve your click power and ones that improve the golden vines, but more on that later. Firstly, how all the upgrades work. Over here, we've got a node called multipliers. In here is where all of the upgrades are stored. In each of them, they run off of the exact same code, so I'll just keep it in here. They have their text file, which says that they'll always display the cost whenever it's updated, and the incredibly neat part about them is this line here. If world score is greater than or equal to half of the cost and it's not visible, it'll become visible. This is a super nice thing to have in terms of game development because it's incredibly simple to create, but it creates like an unlockable sense to the upgrades and makes them feel more valuable, more impactful to the game's overall gameplay. When we go into how the upgrades actually work themselves, it's really simple script, just this. It just says that if the world score is greater than the cost, then it'll increase the multiplier, take away your score and increase the cost, and then update the label. Really simple stuff, to be completely honest. But there are these 2 new functions over here that I haven't actually used before. Basically, they track when the mouse interacts with one of the buttons. So if I make it visible here and zoom in, you can see that this button obviously has its own collision area. In these signals, you can check when the mouse enters and exits it and have it connected to do stuff. So in this circumstance, whenever the mouse enters or exits, the label will become either visible or not visible, depending on whether the mouse is in there or not. This is so we can save space in terms of showing the player important details. Case and point, when I hover my mouse over, it shows that improved guac costs 1,000. When I take it off, it disappears again. And that same logic runs across pretty much every other upgrade. The same updated text, the same functionality in terms of increasing the multiplier, taking away cost, and then upgrading the cost. That runs for all of these. However, there are 2 that stand out: louder speakers and shinier vines. These 2 have their own independent functions. So what louder speaker does is it actually increases the power of your clicks. So when you get into later stages of the game, your click doesn't feel as useless and it keeps players' engagement in the game for longer, as it's more useful. This one's cost does actually scale a whole lot faster than all the other ones, being 1.8 times more rather than 1.2. That just means that it's harder to keep on spamming the upgrade, and it means you have to work harder to get it again, as it is an incredibly powerful upgrade. Then on the back end of that, we have the golden vine upgrade. Now this links into one of the new features, the golden vines. Basically what this one does is decreases the time that the golden vines in between their spawns, and that increases by a factor of 2 every time you buy it. So this one, again, is more powerful than all the other multiplier upgrades. But more on the golden vines now. So the golden vines consist of just the vine logo, but in a golden font. They have their own sprite, animation player, auto stream, timer, and label. And they have an incredibly simple function, basically, to provide a random buff at a random interval. They're essentially like golden cookies from Cookie Clicker, but I haven't copied them. It's actually really hard to make individual ideas for a clicker game when you've already got a game like Cookie Clicker that has pretty much done anything and everything. However, I am trying to innovate on other stuff. So in here, it is a very simple, if the sprite has been clicked, then it activates a function in the main node and plays the audio. The audio for this, which I'll probably overlay in now, is just a modified version of the Taco Bell bong, a sparkle sound effect that I found online for free, and the Vine Boom itself. But in here is where all of the magic happens if I pull this down. This is all of the code to determine what buff is applied and the text to go along with it. So it says that when the golden vine is made initially, and I'll show you how that happens later, when it is made, the timer for it starts for 5 seconds. When that timer runs out, it'll delete itself regardless of whether the player has clicked it or not. However, in this function, if the golden vine has been clicked, it'll create a random number. If the number is 0, then you get nothing, because I felt like adding an annoying Easter egg into here, and then deletes itself. If it's between 1 and 50, so a 50% chance, you get double idle score for 10 seconds. If it's between 50 and 90, so a 40% chance, you get a sizable increase in score. And if it's between 90 and 100, you get a 10 times click multiplier. So these are all pretty game-altering buffs that impact the game significantly. So we'll go back over to here and we'll go and look at how they actually spawn themselves. So over here we have a script and a timer. This script functions all around the timer itself and when it goes off. So it initially sets the timer's wait time as a random float between the minimum number and the maximum number. Those two variables are the ones that you saw get changed over here. So when these get smaller, the possible wait times decrease, which decreases the overall interval on average. When the timer does time out, it spawns a golden vine, which just gets the scene, creates it, adds it as a child, and then sets it at a random position somewhere on the screen. Then, in here, these are the custom functions that have been made to actually apply the buffs themselves. So, from the golden vine, you can see that in all of these, they call the custom function from the parent node. You see idle mult being called, add score being called, or click mult being called, should I say. Over here in the world, and we go back into this script, you can see idle mult, add score, and click mult being created. So basically, they all apply their own buffs and then time out. This one just increases the mult, waits for 10 seconds and times out as it would do. Same over here for click mult. However, add score functions a little bit differently. Add score does either one of two things. It determines whether in 15 minutes, if the score you have currently, if half of the score you have currently is more than what you would be making in 15 minutes, it gives you 15 minutes worth of idle score. However, if your current score is less than what you would make in 15 minutes, it gives you half of your current score. So it gives you basically just a view injection and boosts the speed of your gameplay, so that you don't have to do as much grinding. I haven't done anything to do with balancing, so I don't know if this is massively overpowered or underpowered, but that will come with time, which I don't really have considering this is a 1-week challenge. However, I will be doing a whole lot of refining and stuff like that on the final day. But for the most part, I'm pretty sure that is everything actually done. That was the day 3 of the devlog with all of the upgrades now added, with all of the golden vines being added, all things like that. If you've been enjoying the progress on this so far, make sure to like and subscribe, show your support in any way that you want. Also, I'd love to hear any suggestions that you have for iconic vines that you want to actually see in the game, because that'll help me out a bunch. And yeah, I thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.